I'd like to welcome you to WCPT AM's Out Chicago. Think of us as Sunday brunch with your gay best friends. Now please welcome your host, Scott Duff.
And a happy Sunday fun day to everybody out there. Scott Duff here along with Ellen Miller.
Good morning,
You're
Scott
back.
Duff. I am back.
I cannot wait to hear all about it.
I could do a whole show about my weekend in California.
I'm sure
but I won't do
you
that.
could. And it's a beautiful day today.
It's fantastic.
It's great. We've got a great show. Hey, everybody, just a reminder, there's a little thing coming up on November 5th.
What is something's happening? I can't put a finger on it right now.
It is 5 days after Halloween.
5 days.
Yeah, the 5
that
days
would
after
be
Halloween.
November 5th.
Yes, there we are. Yeah.
I remember.
Elections.
We're voting to make sure fascism doesn't get
There we go. Yeah.
take over our country.
Yeah.
That's right.
That
Little thing.
Or that we had better generals than Hitler because they kept trying to kill him. And they couldn't do it. That's
he took
bad.
care of himself,
anyway.
though.
It is. Wow.
Yeah.
So we're coming up. We're coming up, everybody. Zowie. So hopefully everybody's got a plan out there to vote and is getting out there to vote.
Yes.
Hey, listen, there's also something very special happening here in Chicago. For the first time ever, voters in Chicago have the opportunity in 2024 to vote for members of the governing board of the Chicago Public Schools. It's a really big deal, you know, and I'm so happy that we finally have a candidate. I've been trying to get some folks on here. And joining us later this hour is going to be Kate Doyle. She's a candidate for the Chicago School Board candidate for District 2. We're going to talk about that. There's been a lot of stuff going on with the school board. There's, as a former educator, it's very important to me, and it should be important to you because this is talking about the separation of church and state. It's talking about, are we going to be continuing the LGBTQ inclusive curriculum? Are we going, all of these things, it really does affect our community. So we're very excited that we're going to be speaking with candidate Kate Doyle later on this hour. And Advocates for Trans Equality fights for the legal and political rights of transgender people in America. We'll chat with Executive Director Rodrigo Heng-Lehtinen in the second hour. Now, what's at stake at this election, in case you didn't know, and Advocates for Trans Equality, they're having a virtual Harris Walls rally tomorrow. So if you want to be on board with that as well, we'll find out a little bit more information about that. And of course, we got to keep things artsy-fartsy, and, if you need a break from all of this stuff that's going on out there, Nothing Without a Company has been planting theater around Chicago by telling stories of historically marginalized voices through immersive and site-specific theater in reclaimed environments. Their latest offering is the world premiere of, and I've got to say this very slowly, Sofa King Queer, a new musical that puts a mirror against current issues still faced by the queer community since the legalization of gay marriage. Why can't I speak today? Playwright, composer, lyricist Kevin Sparrow, and producing director Anna Rose Ii-Epstein are going to be dropping by the studio. We're going to have folks in the studio.
Yay,
very excited about that.
In a while.
I know.
Fun.
So we get some fun folks in here while we be all artsy fartsy and all that good stuff. And of course, we would love to hear from you. So give us a call at 773-763-9278. That number again is 773-763-9278. Of course, you can find us on Facebook where we are coming at you live. Just head on over to Out Chicago Radio. And while you're there, give us a click and a like and a share and all that good stuff. But if that doesn't float your boat, you can always tune in on WCPT AM 820. And while you're at it, follow WCPT and our sister network Heartland Signal on Facebook, Instagram, X, Twitter, that's Twitter, TikToks, Threads, all the good stuff. All of the good stuff. Ellen Miller, welcome back.
Thank you, Scott. Thank you.
We missed you last week. We know you were at the Hollywood Bowl.
I was
with Meryl Streep.
Meryl Streep and Elton John and a few other of our dear friends.
Yeah,
Kathy and I bought tickets back in February to see the Joni Jam. Which,
Joni Mitchell.
Joni Mitchell. We call those of us that are.
I know, we just
call her
need Joni.
It's kind of a secret code.
Yeah,
you say Joni. If
yeah.
they know what you're talking about, you know they're cool. I'm a big Joni fan. Scott's a big Joni fan. You may recall back in 2018, we both went to L.A. for the 75th birthday celebration that had Rufus Wainwright and it had James Taylor and Chaka Khan,
Seal,
and
Nora
Jones, and Chris Christopherson and Brandy Carlisle and blah, blah, blah,
everybody,
on and on and on. And that was, magical because we were all coming together for one thing, and that was to celebrate Joni Mitchell. And everybody in the crowd.
On her birthday.
On her birthday, her actual birthday. And the night before were the midterms, the first midterms after Trump was elected president. And the night before, the Dems, just took it by storm. There was a blue wave. So everybody was between being there and Joni being there and celebrating Joni and picking up seats in the House and Senate. It was just a fabulous vibe. Well, take that times 100 is what we just experienced, because it was 17,000 both nights.
Wow.
We stayed at...
and she performed, because she didn't perform at her 75th.
She only sang Circle Game with everybody else at the end. But she performed, Scott, yes, her voice is an octave or so down, but what it used to be. But she really sounds uniquely Joni Mitchell. And hearing her sing those songs... Brandy is always there to kind of shepherd her. The first night, we were there Saturday night. Wait,
you went both nights?
Oh, yeah, both nights.
Wow,
both
okay.
Both nights. Originally, we bought tickets for Sunday night because there were better seats available.
Oh, okay.
And then we said, like a day later, we're going all the way out there. We're going to sit there and go like, oh, my God. No. So we found lesser price, which were still very expensive. It was, instead of going to Europe, we went to LA for the weekend.
There you go.
But so we had the lesser quality seats, but still we're on the benches at the Hollywood Bowl. But they were not cheap. They're $500 each, to give you an idea for what it cost to sit up there. But we had a nice big screen that we looked at. And at the intermission, one of my Chicago friends, Nunu, he texts me, he goes, "Come meet me at the top of the Hollywood Bowl and let's take some pictures. It's really great." So we went up there and met him, and he goes, "You know what? I'm in a box in the very first row, in back of the pit." So there's a pit, they call it the circle area, and then there's a small little moat where a security guard stands, and then there's these fabulous boxes. We were in those fabulous boxes the following night, but in the boxes in back. There's garden boxes, which are the first, bunch. So we walked down there, and we didn't have tickets for them, but he kind of got us in there. And we sat in the first row center for the second half of the show.
What?
Behind the orchestra pit.
Oh, wowza.
And we were looking in chairs, in comfy chairs. And, I was in these benches where I was getting people. I don't, the bench thing I don't like, because there's no delineation. There's no seat.
Right. Yeah.
And it's someone that's a little, a bigger dude or whoever.
Just going to be touching you.
Just going to be touching me.
Yeah.
And I don't like that.
I get that.
So, but our wish was granted. We sat there. We no longer could look at the screens because we were too close to look at the screens. We were right up. And then, so the first half of the show is Joni Mitchell with Brandi Carlile and Allison Russell and Lucius, who are the two sisters that are singers. Mark Isham, who's a fabulous horn player. He plays clarinet and oboe and sax, and he's just amazing. Sista Strings. And a whole lineup of great musicians. A guy from Fleet Foxes, I can't remember. They do the first half of the show. Then there's an intermission. And the second half of the show, they turn. I'd never been in the Hollywood Bowl before. The whole stage turns, and sitting there, everybody starts screaming, "There's Annie Lennox. There's John Batiste. There's Rita Wilson. There's Wendy and Lisa from Prince. There's plus all the other people that were already on stage the first time."
Wow.
Am I missing anybody? I tried to make a couple of notes. Marcus Mumford of Mumford and Sons. Elton John, Meryl Streep. It's like, oh my God, pinch me. And Annie Lennox came out and did a song. She did the song Ladies of the Canyon. Elton John sang along for I'm Still Standing. She covered his song the night before, and I guess she had rewritten some of the lyrics. He was honored, and she rewrote some of the lyrics. They're kind of funny. And it was just, and the other thing, Scott, was not only was being in Joni's presence and hearing her sing and sound magnificent, even on in her lower register, but the people that we met all weekend long. Our hotel was loaded with lesbians that were there to see Joni Mitchell. They had come from all over the country and all over the world.
Of course.
Australia, Japan, Wales, England, Yukon.
Wow.
And, I didn't hardly meet anybody from LA. I met a few, but of course, we met all these. We were sitting and having breakfast. Of course, the two women next to us. It's like, hey, Jenny, going to Joni by chance? And new Facebook friends, and just the love and the people feeling grateful that they were there. You just don't have that kind of a vibe.
Yeah. I mean,
else.
like, what a tribute to such an incredible artist. That people are like, yes, I'll come and be a part of this, like in a heartbeat. Like Joni Mitchell really has influenced so many people.
So many Prince. People don't know this, but unless they're really Prince, experts, but that's who he cites as his number one influence. Joni Mitchell.
And his version of Case of You is so good.
Oh, I forgot he did that. And Wendy and Lisa being there.
Yeah.
A couple quick things. The song, there was a record, Dog Eat Dog, and a title, the song's Dog Eat Dog, and there's a line, snakebite evangelists and racketeers and bigwig financiers. And she goes, like Donald Trump. And someone from the crowd yells, F Donald Trump. She goes, F Donald Trump. And the whole place erupted. And she did get a dig in on him both nights.
Of course. It wouldn't be Joni without.
There were a lot of people wearing, Harris Walls shirts. Kathy wore one the second night. Kathy spotted someone actually in the lower boxes with a Trump shirt. I'm glad she didn't see that because I'm sure she would have called him out. But it was a love-in. I ran into people. I ran into someone that I worked at XRT with in the 90s. Ellen Miller, she's dating this Ellen Miller. I'm like, oh my God, her name's October, and we're hugging. And another friend that saw that I was there, we arranged to meet. She was with her son. Last time I met her, she was single and moving to LA, and now she's she's been there 20 years and has an adorable son that hopefully is going to come to the University of Chicago. So we had one great experience after the other.
Amazing.
And just feel very grateful that we got to experience it. We were on a cloud nine the entire time. There.
So was that Cavalcade of Stars? Was that there just for one night or was that for both?
Both nights.
Really?
Well, Elton John. So the whole group I mentioned, the John Batiste and Rita Wilson and Annie Lennox and Lucius. And they were there. Plus Meryl Streep and Elton John the next night.
Okay.
And Elton was sitting on this chair in the back, and just he and Joni are good friends.
Oh yeah.
And there's a lot of videos on Instagram, TikTok, wherever they're after the show they were all singing in the dressing room, and Chappell Roan showed up. Rosie O'Donnell was Kathy Spotter. She was in the pit in front of us, and she at the end of the show she took a video of Joni just sitting there, and then she panned the audience. There's me and Kathy.
I saw that. That's hilarious.
I kind of posted it because it's just like, oh, they were in Rosie's video.
I went bowling with Rosie O'Donnell.
Did you?
I did years and years ago.
She lived in Chicago for a while.
Well, no, this was actually when she was in New York doing Grease on Broadway, back in the 90s. Yeah, it was my first. It was right after I graduated college, and I had that moment of like, you know what, I really want to go to New York. And that moment of like, wait, I can go to New York. I am autonomous. Like, I'm done with college. I'm living my life. Go live my life. And my friend, I went. It was my first solo trip to New York, and I just kind of couch surfed and everything, and it was like it was just it was so it was a great experience. It was wonderful, but it was like I went and I stayed with a friend who's like on the Upper West Side, whose mother was a curator for MoMA. And her father was a visual poet, whatever that is. It was one of those great old, Upper West Side buildings where there are 2 units per floor, and the people on her floor were Frances McDormand and whichever Coen brother she's married to. I forget which, Joel or Ethan. Right. So I got to have that little moment, and then my friend from high school was making her Broadway debut in Grease with Rosie O'Donnell. She's like, meet me afterwards, and we'll go bowling at Port Authority, and we all went, and it was like Broadway Bowling League night, and I met up with her, and I went bowling with Rosie O'Donnell that night. God. It was just crazy back in the 90s.
I've never not had a fantastic and magical time in New York too. It's just, if you're open to what is around you, there's so much to take in.
Oh heck yeah!
Last time I was there, we ran into Alec Baldwin within moments of checking into our hotel. It's always somebody you see.
You always see somebody there.
Yeah, and hang out. Mm-hmm. And I just. Oh, man.
But it was a really wonderful time in LA.
It was.
Yeah.
And we saw old friends. We met new friends. We had fabulous late night dinners. I will say this about LA. There are still some great late night dining options around. And Chicago, we used to have a lot of them, but
I know. What's going on with that?
We our Midwestern is showing.
It is.
I really thought about it. And I mean, everywhere there was donut places open late. And of course, all the hamburger places and taco places. I mean, we have some of that here, but it's not the same here. It's not the same since COVID. Maybe it'll come back. But
it's not the same since the Pepper Lounge went away.
Oh, exactly. Places like the Pepper Lounge. We used to go and dine late.
Swank late night supper club.
Yeah.
I love that.
Avec used to be open late. They're not even open super late anymore.
Really?
Well, people changed their habits, and it's not completely the restaurant's fault. People just started dining earlier once they didn't.
Oh, yeah,
ever since COVID. I mean, we still sometimes don't have time to get a bite before a show, and we like to be able to go and eat something healthy and fun afterwards. And those are very
They're
limited.
hard to find.
Maybe they'll come back, but
hopefully they will.
Korean late night spicy fried chicken at a place called Prince. We went to Musso and Frank's, the very famous Hollywood restaurant.
Mm-hmm.
Just
where'd y'all stay?
We stayed at the Godfrey Hotel.
Okay.
It's a little boutique hotel that was
on Sunset.
It's off of Sunset. It's on Cahuenga, whatever. It was, it was fun. Like I said, had a lot of people there to see Joni Mitchell. So
amazing.
Yeah, it was great.
Amazing.
So, yeah, thanks for holding down the fort.
More than just a little jealous. But
I wish you could have been there.
I know, it would have been wonderful.
But quickly, I know we're on a break here. She came out the second show like out of the blocks strong. She had to kind of warm up the first because it's a huge thing. I wouldn't be surprised if she's in good health that she wants to do it again next year. And if she does, I will be there.
You will be there.
And
You'll be there.
You will too.
Maybe. We'll see. But that's amazing.
Yeah, thanks.
So she's what? She's 82 now. Oh.
Yeah. But she's pounding that cane.
She got that cane going.
She's just like.
And her big old moo-moo.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It was great.
Love it. I love it. I love that you were able to be there and to be so close. Have such a wonderful experience. Soak up all the love. And again, what an incredible tribute that all of these people were like, you know what? Yes, anything for you, Joni Mitchell. She's a brilliant musician and a poet. To the core.
And she did a lot of rarities. She did like some deep cuts.
All right.
And Brandy said this band really, she tested their metal because they had to learn, her stuff is not that easy.
No, it's weird.
It's with the different tunings and everything else. And these musicians Marcus Mumford sang California with her, and it was beautiful. There were a lot of cameras. There was a lot of recording. I wouldn't be surprised if these shows will be in some sort of movie or
maybe like another PBS special, because I know the 75th birthday was definitely released on PBS. So cross our fingers, maybe in February
you might be able to see
we'll
some
get
of the
something,
love.
something across our things. Oh, I love it. Well, welcome back. We're so happy that you're here and happy that your soul was fed and you are full and brimming with all things Joni.
It was. Thank you, Scott.
You are a lady of the canyon.
I want to be. I want to move there.
We all. Oh gosh.
Just fantasize.
Right. Oh, did you drive by their house?
We didn't have a car. You know what? We ran into some LA friends that are ready to move back to Chicago, though. So,
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, it's a different place.
It's a good place to visit like New York, but I'd rather be here.
All righty. Well, there we go. I know. We got water.
We got water.
Oh, we've got water and no faults. Like earthquake faults.
Yeah.
We've got plenty of faults.
We got faults,
but not those kinds. But hey, we should probably take a break.
Yep.
But before we do that, this part about Chicago is brought to you by Team Hochberg. If you are purchasing a new home or refinancing your existing home, you need to call Team Hochberg. After more than 2 excruciating years, mortgage interest rates are finally dropping. That is right. Mortgage interest rates are finally decreasing. And while 60% of Team Hochberg's competition are out of business, Team Hochberg's ready to help you, your friends, family, coworkers, and neighbors reduce your rate and monthly payments. David would like to share 2 important facts. Number 1, you don't have to refinance with your current lender. And number 2, Team Hochberg's closing costs and interest rates are almost always lower than your current lender and online lenders like Rocket Mortgage. So if you purchase a new home or refinance your existing home within the past 2 years and your rate starts with a 7 or an 8, Call Team Hochberg now. Not when you get home, tomorrow, or next week. Call now for a complimentary mortgage analysis, 855-563-2843, or visit their website, 56david.com. That number again is 855-563-2843, or visit 56david.com. Lower.com, equal housing lender, NMLS 1124061. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, there's more Out Chicago, so stick around. You're listening to Out Chicago on WCPT, Heartland Signal.
663-2843 or visit 56david.com. Lower.com, equal housing lender, NMLS 1124061.
Because facts matter. You are listening to WCPT 820.
Welcome back. I'm Kim Hunt with Affinity Community Services. You're listening to Out Chicago on WCPT.
And welcome back to Out Chicago. Scott Duff here, along with Ella Miller, rolling along.
Yes, indeed.
I swear you got a little sun-kissed. Did you use sun-in when you were there?
What do you think?
Of course you did!
We were by the pool all day with all of our new lesbian friends.
New lesbian friends. There we are.
And I know that that's my last chance to get the sun in my hair. So I was sun-inning and getting in the pool. And
I'm still like... Sun In, you need to be a sponsor of our show. Is what it is so amazingly retro, and you are a loyal product customer, customer user, product user, whatever it is. Yeah,
it's a bargain too compared to what I guess it costs to get your hair professionally lightened.
There we go. But you just there we go.
Do it in the sun and brush it through and.
I love that you do that. It just makes me so happy. It makes me so happy. Like I also picture you now, like laying out at the hotel pool on one of those aluminum blankets.
Oh, no, not quite doing that. I've tried. I wish they had no. It was on the roof deck, and there was no umbrellas. There were umbrellas, but not for the chaise. And I didn't have a hat. I was like, oh man, I like the sun, but I also like to.
I know. I understand. I understand.
Yeah, it was a
I
little
get
much.
it. I ponds.
It was a little much.
Ponds everyday ponds.
It looks good on you.
Thank you.
Yeah, the Godfrey was a fun hotel. It was the roof deck was awesome. The pool deck was great. You have
Fortunately, you got a nice layer of smog that will kind of filter out some of that sun rays.
We caught good weather apparently.
Well, good. Hey, we've got good weather too, and Halloween's coming up. And you know what? It only happens every 4 years. A presidential election year, Halloween, and with an orange pumpkin running on the Republican side, we're encouraging listeners to paint their pumpkins to show their support for Harris, Walz, and the Democrats. Team Hochberg is generously providing $1,000 worth of Visa gift cards for the best 3 photo submissions with a $500 first prize. The deadline for submissions is midnight on Thursday, October 31st. Prizes will be awarded the following Thursday, November 7th on Driving It Home with Patty Vasquez between 5 and 7 p.m. If you'd like to enter the contest, take a picture of your painted or carved pumpkin and submit it to heartlandsignal.com/paint-your-pumpkin-contest. Lots of dashes.
Lots of dashes.
Yes. So, paint-your-pumpkin-contest.
Or go to heartlandsignal.com, click WCPT, and at the very top there'll be a banner that says paint your pumpkin. So you don't have to remember all those dashes.
Oh, well, there we go. That's super duper easy.
easier.
There we are. And if you'd like to have us text you that link, you can text us at 773-763-9278, and we will send it to you. So, yeah. So, Election Day. It's coming up. It's coming up. I was kvetching about this last week. I'm going to kvetch about it again. I still don't understand why it is so close.
Well, I was listening on the way in. There was a Democratic and Republican pollsters. They both said, I think the Democratic pollster said, take it from us. Don't pay attention to the polls. Just go out and vote. I did some phone canvassing, phone banking. Phone banking. Kathy and I did on Thursday. We were
sending out postcards too, so we're doing our bits.
Yeah, people are doing things, and I know there's a lot of anxiety out there, but there are things you can do. Go to Indivisible Chicago. There are opportunities this week to do both: postcards, phone banking, canvassing if you can get away. But we had a list of people that they automatically dial for you. It's very easy once the system works, and they were calling Democrats in the county that's around Ann Arbor, so it's definitely a friendly territory, but it's Dems that got absentee ballots so that we could remind them to return them.
Send them in.
Ask if they sent
yeah.
them in already. Ask if they voted for Harris, basically. And then another important piece of information we were sharing with them were the judges. There's 2 judges, Kim and Carrie for the win. They're not, if you vote a straight Democratic ticket in Michigan, you don't get the judges. You have to go to the nonpartisan page and seek out these judges. And it's very important to keep the Supreme Court of Michigan blue. And you can do that with these very well-qualified women, Kim and Carrie. So that was part of our message. One phone call, I got this one woman, she had a New York accent. She's going on and on and on and thanking me for my work. I'm like, I haven't done that much, but then I felt guilty. Yeah, but thank you. And then she's like, F the polls. F the polls.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And she didn't say F. And so I carried that message. Who knows what the polls say? It doesn't matter what the polls say. What we know is nobody can be complacent. Nobody can sit this one out. You know, I even said to some of the people, if you've already sent yours in and they were enthusiastic about it, make sure your neighbor, make sure your son, make sure your daughter, your friends get to the polls and vote. So we must. I do feel, Scott, the enthusiasm is on our side.
I feel enthusiasm. I also feel the fatigue. I feel like, one of Vice President Harris's major message right now is like, we're all just tired of the vitriol. We're all just tired of it.
Turn the page.
We want to turn the page into something new. And I agree. And I just want to remind everybody, like a vote for not voting or a vote for a third-party candidate is a vote for Trump.
It is.
It's just that simple.
No two ways about it.
There are no 2 ways about it, and you've got to get out there and vote. And the stuff that's been coming out this week has just been like,
But you know what? We're hearing it. The Dems are hearing it. The people that are voting for Harris are hearing it. But are the Republicans hearing it? Because they are getting their news filtered through Fox, Newsmax, and whatever other propaganda they're involved in, whether it's online or on TV. And we know all of these chapter and verse. We know what John Kelly is saying. We know what all the people that have worked for Trump and his administration have said. But do they know? Are they paying attention? Or are they just voting?
Just speaking of LA, it's not great that the Los Angeles Times is not endorsing a candidate and the Washington Post.
Very disappointing.
Very disappointing, to say the least.
It's
those
really
are people
criminal.
that are run by billionaires and that are worried that if Trump gets elected, of retribution.
Yes.
And that is,
it's really sad.
Here's the thing that I just don't understand. Folks out there who are not billionaires, who make Biden was talking about how when he wanted to raise taxes on people who'd made more than $400,000 a year, people who make less than that, which is a lot. Most people. It's everybody. Me.
The majority of people in this country.
A majority of people do not make that. What do you think this man is going to do for you? He does not have your best interests and heart. He doesn't have a heart, but he is what he's doing. He's working with, it's going to be an oligarchy. This is going to be the end of democracy. It really is.
No question about it.
No question. You're going to have people who run corporations curry favor with this man to try to get what is going to be helpful for them. Prices are not going to be coming down. Tariffs are not going to be the solution. Social Security, if he gets a hand of it, it's going to be empty in 6 years. Like it is, and this is something that I know young folks out there who really aren't thinking about it. I didn't think about it back then, but I'm thinking about it now. About okay, I would like to retire, and I'm looking at my meager, the Social Security, the money that I put away. This is taking out of my money. Like I've worked every day of my life since I was 16 years old to have this go away. That's going to be gone.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's going to be gone. And you paid that money.
And it's your money that you have paid in. You have paid into it as.
Heather Cox Richardson, we talk a lot about her. She's a wonderful writer, and she had a column yesterday talking about fascism and talking about a booklet that the World War II veterans used to get. It was designed it was entitled Army Talks, and it was designed to help personnel become better informed, men and women, and therefore better soldiers. And this particular pamphlet that came out in 1945 talked all about what fascism was. All about it. And if you read this, it is pretty much exactly what Donald Trump and his band of thieves are intending for this country.
Oh, yeah.
It's very scary. And how these quote unquote patriotic Republicans who want to make America great again, you know, we looked at the Germans and said, how did they elect this man? How did they elect Hitler? How did they do it? How were they duped by this person?
Because you make the lie big enough and you tell the lie often enough that people believe the lie.
And this is what we're up against right now.
Yep.
This is exactly what we're up against.
This is what we were up against in 2016, except he was so dumb that he couldn't figure it out.
And he had guardrails. He had people there that were actual, you know, when he had the John Kellys of the world and the
You have the 40 staff members who have come out and say, we do not, this man should be nowhere near
the people that know him best.
Near the office.
He's a liar. He's a felon. He tried to overthrow a free and fair election. The will of the people, the basis of democracy, our right to vote. This has to mean something to the majority of this country, and that's my hope a week from Tuesday that it will.
Yeah.
I really think that January 6th and women's right to choose are two things that are going to, I hope the conscience of people is what wins out.
But right now, it feels like America has amnesia, or at least part of America has amnesia.
Well, part of America does.
You know,
for sure.
Especially hearing from elected officials. Like elected GOP officials who are
my
downplaying,
God.
who were like running scared, who were putting on gas masks, who were barricading themselves inside Senate chambers while people were trying to break in.
And
we
now
all watched it unfold.
we saw it.
I remember that day.
Crying, watching it with tears in our eyes.
I just remember going like, what is going on? And I had friends call me like, come over. And I'm like, I'm not leaving the house. Like, we'll watch it together. I'm like, I don't want to move. I don't want to leave. I just need to just sit here. This is awful. This is awful what is happening.
This is awful.
And people have seemed to they just forgot about it, about how it's actually like we watched it happen. We watched it unfold.
They are in denial in a big way. They're looking at life before COVID, and you know things changed for the world after COVID. For the world, okay. You can't just say it's. And if Trump had done a better job in this country, we may not have suffered as much as we did. But instead,
if Trump had done an okay job, had done a better, he would have been reelected. He would have been he just would have been reelected in 2020. Like that, that was his big misstep. He totally messed up the COVID response.
And now we're forgetting how bad he messed up? No. People's relatives died. People's friends died.
Yeah, it's...
I just am hoping that look at the whole world is watching America. The whole world. And the whole world is not rooting for Donald Trump. At least the free democracies that we hold dear in Europe and other parts of the world. Yeah. They are... friends that we have around the world, they're just also sitting at the edge of their chairs because they know if they have Polish relatives, if they're Polish people and they have Polish relatives still in Poland, they know what he will do with Ukraine. And Poland could be next. They are aware. But here we have people that have blinders on. I'm hoping and praying with everything. I'm cautiously optimistic, Scott. She's going to win on November 5th.
All right, I'm glad.
She's going to win.
I appreciate your cautious optimism.
We have to look at it that way.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
and we have to vote.
But again, the thing is just so confusing. Like just the rhetoric that is coming out of these rallies and out of his surrogates, like that whole weird Tucker Carlson mommy issues. Oh my God,
she's gonna spank that little girl. What are you effing talking about?
Yeah,
spanking that little girl. Daddy's coming home. What kind of nuts are you people? What kind of weird, sick, demented?
That is just weird. Like, I do not need to think of anybody as a daddy. That's what you do, like with the cult. He's
everybody's daddy. Yeah.
Dear leader is coming in to fix everything up, and he's going to beat people up.
Just for one day. He wants to he wants the police to have no guardrails and just go out and go crazy.
It's called the purge.
Yeah, purge. Mm-hmm.
I mean, I made a joke about it during his first somewhere in his first first couple of years about like, does anybody else feel like on the 4th of July that he's about to announce that there's The Purge?
Mm-hmm.
You know, if you aren't familiar with The Purge, it's a lovely series of movies where all crime is legal for one night. Except he wants to do this now with the police.
And he wants to have the kind of generals that Hitler had that are loyal to him. Loyal to him, not to the country.
Hitler's generals were unloyal.
I guess, well, he didn't need that part.
He didn't know that part.
He doesn't know that part. He's not really big on history, in
He's
case
not really
you
big on
noticed.
reading.
Yeah, no.
If there was a graph
Yeah.
or a picture.
Yeah, maybe.
If there was like a
He likes
puppy.
graphs, yeah.
He likes a puppy, maybe.
And have you ever seen the
likes
guy
hugging-
actually really laugh?
No.
No. You know what it says about him? It says he's just devoid. He's devoid of humanity. He's devoid of empathy. He can't laugh. All he can do is strike back at people. That's his whole thing is lashing out at people. And it's disgusting. And calling our country a garbage can. Come on, people. We are better than this.
Yeah.
And you guys right now are proving why he's in the polls. Who's he running against?
A woman.
No, who's he running against? You've gone 20 minutes without saying Kamala Harris's name. We have normalized Trump here, guys.
Yeah,
and all
I
we're
know.
talking
Yeah.
about is negative.
I
Never
know.
heard
I
one.
know.
You're right.
There we are.
He is right. He is
Well-
he is dominating the news cycle. You are exactly
I
right.
know.
Dominating the news cycle. He's gone up a few points in the last week because of his outlandish nonsense. Is constantly rather than them just people saying, "Look how crazy this is." They just run it. We're saying how crazy it is.
Well, they say that too, and like this is why I don't like talking about it, because actually I was about to steer back to Vice President Harris. No, it's cool because like what her message that she came out with, was finding the joy within this opportunity, but also like. She is really highlighting what do you stand for? We know what you are against, but we don't know what you are standing for. And having people like Beyonce come out at Houston and say, hey, America, it's time to sing a new song. You know, like there's something very, very powerful about that. And there's like, again, think about it. We do not know what he stands for. He stands for himself, and we don't, but we know what Vice President Harris and Tim Walz really want to do is they want to make this country for us.
They do, and they've got plans. I mean, they've talked about this first-time home buyer credits and new business credits. Then people keep saying they interview these morons and say, "Well, I like his policies." What are his policies?
They can't name them.
No, they
and
can't
that
name
is,
them. They're living in some sort of weird, mental state that he is the all-knowing because he's a man that was on television and he's outlandish and he entertains them. You listen to her and you just, this is who you want to run your country. This is who you want in charge of your future, your
who's
kids'
looking out for
future.
people, who wants
Kamala
to
Harris.
tax those people who make a lot of money, who wants to help people start small businesses, who wants to create housing, who is looking out for people.
She is.
That's what we need to remember, and hopefully you'll remember that as well. Just remind everybody, early voting has begun in Chicago and Cook County. To find your polling place, visit chicagoelections.gov. We are going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we are going to be speaking with Chicago School Board candidate for District 2, Kate Doyle. This is the first time that we're actually voting for school board, so it's a big deal. Please stick around. You're listening to Out Chicago right here on WCPT Heartland Signal.
I'm Bex Ehrman with About Face Theater. Welcome back to Out Chicago on WCPT.
Welcome back to Out Chicago. Scott Duff here, along with Ellen Miller. As you know, the elections are coming up, and for the very first time, voters in Chicago have the opportunity in 2024 to vote for members of the governing board of Chicago Public Schools. It's a very big deal, and joining us now is Kate Doyle, Chicago School Board candidate for District 2. Kate, thank you so much for taking time out to join us today.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. It's great to be on the air with you.
Yeah, especially since you're also like at a spooky haunted house thing, I believe. So thank you.
I am. Yeah, I'm tabling at a haunted house, and if I'm allowed, I want to just give a shout out to the business because it is an LGBTQ owned business.
Yeah.
In Lincoln Square, Brush Park Gym, they have a haunted house going on until 1 p.m. today. It's free for any little kids and not too spooky.
All right.
Oh, that would be good for
good.
That'd be good for me.
That's perfect for Ellen.
Yeah,
She does not do the spooky things at all.
Yeah. I don't do too scary. I'm like, make the ghost cute.
Yes.
That's my level.
Look,
Good.
I'm all for a horror movie. Just do not put me into a haunted house. They always freak me out. I don't like people jumping out at me. I'm with you. So we'll swing on by over there afterwards. But Kate Doyle, to the point at hand, just a real basic question: why are you running for Chicago School Board?
Yeah, thanks so much for asking. So I'm really honored to be running to represent the 2nd District on the Board of Education, which is on the far north side, running from Montrose Avenue at the southern border all the way up to Howard. So Lincoln Square to Rogers Park. All these districts are really big. I'm running for the Board of Education because, I believe public schools change lives. And mine certainly did when I was growing up. My family actually went through a long and difficult period of instability that was marked by domestic abuse in our home and also the loss of our family home. And I'm okay and I'm thriving because I had a great public school, and that great public school had great teachers, and those teachers filled me with love and built my confidence. And, that's why I became a teacher. I'm a former special education teacher. I now lead a nonprofit working with young people, and I really believe that, public education is, the cornerstone of our democracy, and it is so worthy of our investment. And my favorite thing about our public schools is that no matter what a kid has going on, when they walk through those doors, they are our students, and it's our job to take care of them. So it's really important that we are investing in Chicago public schools because we have over 300,000 students who are our students, and they are our future.
They most certainly are. They most certainly are. I when I reached out to you, I said that I am a former high school educator, and you said that you did you start your career in education with special education? Or tell us a little bit more about your journey to this moment.
Yeah. So I taught in the public schools out in New York City before my family said, get your head on straight, get back to the Midwest.
Right.
Similar big city, under-resourced classroom. But I taught in what is the equivalent of a specialty school here. So working with high schoolers with IEPs, with moderate to severe disabilities, and helping them prepare for a meaningful life in the community after graduation. And that's something that sort of connective tissue between K-12 and what happens next. That post-secondary piece has become sort of, a central focus in my career. So after leaving the classroom, I worked in the private sector for a while, and I did corporate social responsibility work. And then I returned to my educator roots, and I helped co-found a nonprofit called Kind Work. And we work with young people who are low income, out of work, and out of school. We help them, first and foremost, rebuild their confidence, and then upskill and reconnect to the workforce. So we help them get their first sort of career ladder role in the tech sector. And I'm really proud of what we do. It's a really deep engagement, 2 years of work with each individual beneficiary. But we also exist for a reason, and we exist because, our clients didn't have the best K-12 experience. And so I'm really passionate about doing systems work and thinking about what more can we do in the K-12 continuum to make sure that all of our graduates can go on to a meaningful life in the community. And I really want us to be a district that is thinking about future readiness. And what I mean by that is, are we properly building pathways for post-secondary success for all of our students? And I'm sure as a former high school teacher, you can appreciate this. We really need to invest more in career and technical education across CPS. We need to deepen our partnership with the skilled trades. I don't know if you've had any plumbing done recently, but my goodness, those men and women make a very decent
They're doing
living.
well. They're doing okay.
They're doing well. And, and at the same time, we need to make sure that students who want to opt for a 4-year college degree are academically prepared to do so, because we also have a lot of CPS grads who go on to 1 or 2 semesters of higher education, but they disconnect. And when you look at the data, it's because of academic preparation. And so we've got to make sure that every kid is ready for their chosen path, and that those pathways and those on-ramps to true post-secondary success exist. And it's something I'm really passionate about and a voice that I'm hoping to bring to the board.
What are some of the obstacles of not having this technical support going? I mean, what is it that's not letting that transpire for kids?
Yeah, so, starting about 30 years ago, and it's not just Chicago Public Schools, but this was, schools across the country started dismantling a lot of their trade education. In the era of the No Child Left Behind Act, we became, as a country, really obsessed with college. College is still a great pathway to, the middle class, a great pathway to a successful career. But we also know that there are a lot of other career pathways that can lead to a meaningful life with family-sustaining wages. And we have largely ignored those as a country. And now we are behind on, connecting our graduates to those careers. So, we're facing a skilled trades crisis across the country, as a lot of boomers are retiring. And now we need folks to fill in for those jobs. And those are also jobs that are not at risk for automation. So in this era of, a changing landscape of work, we've also got to be thinking strategically about, how do we prepare students for the jobs that are going to exist 10, 15, 20 years down the road, and the jobs that are going to be in the Chicagoland area. So this is also a fabric of the city issue. How do we keep people here and connected to work that is going to pay them a strong wage, strong benefits, and make sure that, they can have a great life in Chicago?
Well, like Lane Tech, the name was Lane Technical High School when 100 years ago, because it was teaching young, at the time, men skills. And do you foresee a school that is, maybe I don't have kids, so I'm not as versed as I should be on it, but do you see it being like a school, a Chicago school that is a technical school, and that is the focus of the high school for those that want to go that direction?
Yeah, and we've actually got a great program at CPS. It's called Chicago Builds. It's a 2-year off-campus construction training program for juniors and seniors to start pursuing that pathway as part of a pre-apprenticeship program. But we need more of that, and we also need to expand our CTE programming, our career and technical education, which gives students the opportunity to do something outside of pure academics. Learn computer science, learn phlebotomy. All these jobs that are really important for our economy. Another thing I'd really like to see the board take on in partnership with the community is increasing access to work-based learning opportunities. So that is, internships, paid jobs for high school students. And that's something that, brings the community more connected to CPS. It allows students to get those important soft skills, professional skills, that first work experience. That's something that I think that we could do more of as well. And we've got a work-based learning team that's in, under the CPS umbrella. It's just small, so we need to grow it.
Yeah, well, one thing I just want to remind everybody, because we are running short on time, Kate Doyle, the importance of a school board. They just maintain the separation of church and state, that they're teaching the required LGBTQ plus inclusive curriculum. They oppose and banning or the censorship of books, and they're there to support trans and gender expansive students, as well as create, I think one of the things that really provides success is to just instill the idea of being a lifelong learner, is that you are able to, that you are never stop, even though you're done with K through 12, you never stop learning, and you are just being a curious human being that wants to be a part of society. Kate Doyle, thank you so much for joining us today. Again, just a reminder that Chicago's had the opportunity to vote for members of the governing school board. To find out more information about Kate Doyle, visit katedoyleforchicago.com. Kate Doyle, thank you again, and best of luck in the coming weeks.
Thank you so much for having me, and thanks so much for spreading the word about the importance of the elected board and what it's going to mean for our students. It's going to be a really great thing for CPS students.
It most certainly is.
Yeah.
Kate Doyle, thank you so much. And WCPT's election coverage is sponsored by the Chicago Federation of Labor, standing up for working people in Cook County. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, it is the second hour about Chicago right here on WCPT Heartland Signal.
I'd like to welcome you to WCPT AM's Out Chicago. Think of us as Sunday brunch with your gay best friends. Now please welcome your host, Scott Duff.
And welcome back to the second hour of Out Chicago. Scott Duff here, along with Ella Miller, rolling along on this beautiful fall day.
Indeed.
Yes, we got a really great second hour lined up.
Of course we do.
For you. I have to be very careful about how to say this, because if you say it too fast, it comes out a little weird. But Nothing Without a Company has planting theater around Chicago by telling the stories of historically marginalized voices through immersive and site-specific theater in reclaimed environments. Their latest offering is the world premiere of Sofa, King, Queer. I'm going to just take nice little pauses in there, but if you want to say it real fast at home, you'll get it. It's a new musical that puts the mirror against current issues still faced by the queer community since the legalization of gay marriage. We're going to chat with the...
I get it now.
You get it now? Did you just get it?
I've read it 100 times and it didn't get it until now. I'm looking at these words: sofa, king, queer.
Yes, there we are. So
I was wondering why they put those three together.
Yeah,
now I know.
But now, yes, it's not the sofa
slow.
queen. It is the sofa King. There we are. We're going to be speaking with a jack of all trades, playwright, composer, lyricist Kevin Sparrow, and producing director Anna Rose Ii-Epstein. They're going to be dropping by in the studio a little bit later on today. We're very excited. But before we get to that, we've been talking about the elections. It's very important. In case you didn't know, there's an election day in 9 days. We want to make sure that you get out there and vote because there's a lot at stake. So we all know that this election is it's super duper high stakes right now, with Project 2025 being the blueprint for a conservative regime and an anti-LGBTQ agenda. But fortunately, advocates for trans equality fights for the legal and political rights of transgender people in America. And joining us now is Executive Director of Advocates for Trans Equality, Rodrigo Heng-Lehtinen. Sorry about that, Rodrigo. I totally butchered your name. I apologize. But thank you for joining us today.
No worries. It's a tough one, but thanks so much for having me on.
Well, thank you for taking time out. Can you tell our listeners out there a little bit about the history of Advocates for Trans Equality?
Sure. So Advocates of Trans Equality is a new organization born out of the merger of two other groups who people may know: National Center for Transgender Equality, or NCTE, and TILDEF, which was Transgender Legal Defense and Education Fund. And the whole idea was that there is power in numbers.
Yes.
We figured we could get a lot more done and get way better results for trans people if we combined. So we put our two organizations under the same roof, and now we are A4TE.
I love that. And I truly believe in strength in numbers. Can you give us a little bit of the mission of the newly formed, like when you take these two organizations, squish them together, what is the mission, the driving force of Advocates for Trans Equality?
Absolutely. What A4TE is all about is building trans people's political power and winning rights and representation for all transgender people. At Advocates for Trans Equality, we fight for our legal and political rights. And, we do that not just for trans people ourselves, but for our families and everyone who cares about us. So we're out there in the courts with litigation. We're out there under the dome working in Congress and in the halls of state legislatures to fight back against anti-trans bills. And we're doing whatever it takes to make sure that our community can get the rights and protections that we all deserve.
And we thank you for that, Rodrigo. We thank you for that. So along with the legal work, do you work with any candidates, like folks from the community who are considering running for office?
Yeah, definitely. One of the most unique things that we do is help trans people running for office and also help trans people vote. You know, at the end of the day, we're only going to be able to win the rights and protections in the government if we also have some influence on who gets elected to office in the first place. Elections are so critical. So, you know, we work really closely with trans people running for office, and it is so exciting that there are more trans people running all the time. You know, we're, as a community, facing all these attacks. Absolutely. We're under attack in state legislatures with anti-trans bills and in the streets facing so much hostility and harassment. But trans people are fighting back. And every single election cycle, we see more trans people running for office. And this time, there are over a dozen openly trans candidates running for office this election day. You know, you said the election's in 9 days. Mm-hmm. There are trans people running for office in Florida, in Indiana, in Hawaii, literally all over the country, in red areas, purple areas, blue areas. I mean, trans people are everywhere, and we are running for office at more rates all the time.
Well, that's good to know because, as you know, Rodrigo, the Republican platform has been an all-out war on trans rights in this country and trans people. It's absolutely sickening to hear the rhetoric about kids going to school, a girl, and coming back a boy, this fear-laden nonsense coming out of them. Is it taking hold with anybody? Is it making it a lot harder for our trans candidates, or are people not buying into it? What's your feeling on it?
Well, every time that our community comes under attack like this, trans people then mobilize and actually get more involved. Mm-hmm. So I think that these MAGA extremist-driven hostility against trans people is actually encouraging trans people and the people who care about us, like our families, to get a lot more involved. So it's ultimately going to be a backlash on them, I think. And of course, in the short run, it's really dangerous because in the immediate term, this kind of rhetoric encourages harassment and discrimination against us as a small minority. But in the long run, it actually inspires more of us to get involved. I mean, one of the things we do at Advocates for Trans Equality is the U.S. Transgender Survey. It's this enormous survey, literally the largest study by and for trans people about our experiences. And we found that trans people in our survey registered to vote at higher rates than the average American, and turned out to vote at higher rates than the average American in the 2020 elections. So I think when the MAGA extremists attack us like this, they are waking up a sleeping giant.
I'm glad you're saying that because every time I hear it, there are more trans people have come out in the last, every year. There's more and more people being who they're living their authentic self. And every time I hear this, I think, political parties, families of trans people are of all political parties. And every time they come out and say this horrible rhetoric, there are families that may be Republicans saying, wow, I've got a son, I've got a daughter, I got a brother, I got a cousin, nephew. They're tearing this person down. And hopefully it's having a reverse effect and not creating fear, but having a fear of the Republicans actually taking office. So I'm glad to hear you think more people are mobilizing because of this, and it's not keeping people down. So keep it's sad though that this kind of war is going on against wonderful people that are just trying to live their authentic lives. But thank God for you guys.
Well, thank you. And you're absolutely right that trans people are everywhere, and including from conservative homes. I mean, my family are lifelong Republicans. I'm not Republican, but all of them are. Right. And when I came out as transgender, they didn't really understand what it meant. They didn't have any kind of familiarity with what it meant to be trans, and I don't blame them for that. I think that's common. It's totally normal to have questions. But thankfully, over time, they came to accept me, and they are still Republican. They are lifelong conservatives, and they don't see any contradiction with that because they are like, you know what I care about is freedom. And the old Republican Party used to be about freedom, so that's what they were about. Now, of course, MAGA extremists have taken a hold of the party and are trying to vilify everyday Americans who happen to be trans or who happen to be immigrants or other misunderstood minorities.
Just fill in the blank.
They do that for their own gain. Yeah, but there's a lot of old school Republicans out there who are supportive of their transgender neighbors when they take the time to get to know them.
Do you think they're supportive enough to not vote for the Republican candidate this year?
Yeah, it's possible. You know, we're seeing so many Republicans come out and endorse Kamala Harris because they are these old school Republicans who believe in freedom.
Right on.
And they recognize that Trump doesn't believe in anything.
No.
He just wants to protect himself.
He believes in his own
a selfish
power.
person.
Yeah, exactly. Good.
Exactly.
So, Rodrigo, I know that you are, we've kind of alluded to this, but can you just remind our listeners what exactly is at stake for the trans community in particular this election cycle? Like, this whole Project 2025 thing is terrifying. Can you remind folks out there what is at stake for folks?
Well, the stakes are extremely high. On the one side, you have Trump with, as you said, Project 2025, which is essentially a plan to seize power and to gain their own control, MAGA extremists' own control, by attacking minorities, whether that's trans people or immigrants, or really, I would say, all LGBTQ people. We know that when Trump was president last time, he attacked trans people. Almost every single federal agency issued some kind of rules and regulations against trans people. But now we see Project 2025, the plan for the future. It goes even further. So there's extreme fear among trans people in our families about what another Trump presidency would mean. And then on the other hand, you have Harris, who has been such a champion for our community. I mean, for trans people and all LGBT people. She famously officiated same-sex weddings when that was way more stigmatized than it is today. And she also, a lot of people don't realize, she was a huge advocate for listing the panic defense. That is this terrible rule, that if you murder or physically attack a queer trans person, you could say, oh, well, I freaked out. I got really nervous and overwhelmed when I learned that they were gay or they were trans, and that's why I did it. Yeah, and a lot of courts would allow that, would give a lower sentence because of
right
that.
here in Illinois.
And Kamala Harris fought against that.
Yes,
she most certainly did. Yeah, right here in Illinois, it wasn't officially off the books until 2019. You know, like, let that sink in. Like, it's just, we have made such huge strides as a community, but without having these people who are there to, like, take down these weird laws like the panic defense thing. That one's, ooh, always gets me. So, which brings us to, y'all are having a virtual rally tomorrow for Kamala Harris and Tim Walz. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yes, we would love to invite everyone to come. We're doing a virtual rally tomorrow, so Monday evening, 6 p.m. Central Time. And it's online, so you can come no matter where you are. And it's going to be really exciting. We're going to be given resources to make it easier to vote. We have these really simple tools to check your registration. And we got great speakers, a lot of openly trans elected officials. So people like Andrea Jenkins, who's the first Black trans woman to ever be elected to public office in the United States of America. And she's also a board member of ours. Thank you, Andrea.
Thank you, Andrea.
and Danica Rome, who's the first openly trans person elected to the state Senate in Virginia, and Zoe Zephyr, openly trans woman elected in Montana. So like I said, trans people are everywhere. And we've got these trans leaders who are all supporting Harris Walz, turning our community out and encouraging people to cast their ballots. So yeah, you can, if you want to come to the virtual rally, You can check us out online. We're at Trans Equality or Trans Equality Now on all our social media. The more the merrier.
Yeah, and let me again, Harrison Walls. They walk the walk, not just talk the talk. I know in Minnesota there's openly trans legislature. Her name is escaping me. It's Leahy, I believe is her last.
Lee Finke.
Lee Finke. Yes, these are people that like want to raise up all Americans. They want to bring us all up and provide opportunities. And when we elect people like Kamala Harris and Tim Walz, or we elect trans candidates or candidates from the LGBTQ community, they're going to be there fighting for our rights, fighting for our basic rights. And this is something people need to keep in their little tiny brains as they're heading up to that. Where is it? I know the whole the Harris Walz virtual rally is going to be virtual, but is there headquartered in a certain place? Like, will folks actually be in the same space, or is everybody just chiming in from across the country?
It's all on Zoom, so it's entirely virtual because, our staff and our team are all over the country. We're in a remote environment, so yeah, it is all on Zoom. And again, 6 p.m. Central Time tomorrow evening.
There we are. And if you want to find out more about the work of advocates for trans equality, or just to register for the rally, go to the rally, go to transequality.org. And most importantly, make sure you get out there and vote. Rodrigo Heng-Lehtinen, thank you so much for taking time out today. Thank you for the tireless work you all do for our trans siblings. And have a great rally tomorrow.
Thanks so much. I just want to do one last plug. If people need to figure out their polling place, go to transformthevote.org. That's another resource we have, especially for trans people voting, but it goes to anyone because early voting is happening in a ton of places. You don't have to wait until Election Day to vote.
Absolutely.
Election Day is the last day to vote, not the only one. So check out transformthevote.org.
Beautiful. Thanks, Rodrigo. Really appreciate you.
We have got to take a quick break, and when we come back, there is more Out Chicago right after this.
Hey, this is Mark Patton, and I'm from Scream Queen, My Nightmare on Elm Street, and you're listening to Out Chicago.
And welcome back to Out Chicago. Scott Duff here and Ella Miller rolling along.
Yes, we are.
Very excited because we have people in the studio.
People in the studio.
It's very
rare post-COVID. We only do it for very special people.
Very special people. And very special people are people that are behind nothing without a company. And they have been planting theater around Chicago by telling the stories of historically marginalized voices through immersive and site-specific theater in reclaimed environments since 2005?
Yeah,
bananas. Their latest offering is the world premiere of Sofa King Queer. I have to say those separately. It's a new musical that puts a mirror against current issues still faced by the queer community since the legalization of gay marriage. And joining us now in studio, and it's so exciting to have everybody here, are playwright, composer, lyricist, busy human, Kevin Sparrow, and producing director, Anna Rose Ii-Epstein. Welcome to the show. And welcome back to you, Anna Rose.
Thank you.
Kevin, have you been on?
I think I've been here once before, long ago. The last election, or 2 election cycles ago.
Oh my gosh. All right. Well, what took you so long? Sorry. It's my bad. There we are. So first of all, congratulations. I know you started previews. How are they going?
Great. I would turn it over to Anna Rose probably for most of it, but it's been exciting to see the progress even from a year ago when we started our staged readings, getting people involved, and then I've spent the last year developing it. So really getting excited to see both of our casts, because we have a main cast and an understudy cast, really taking this material, flying with it, and working with a bunch of younger folks, some folks who were there at the time of 2008, some folks who were very, very baby at the time. So it's been really exciting to see them lock in and really become these people.
Amazing. Well, before we get too deep into the show, can you just tell Anna Rose just briefly about the history and the mission of Nothing Without a Company?
Yeah, so myself and a few other DePaul people, we just started doing theater while we were in school on our breaks and doing immersive site-specific theater, so in our apartments and like traveling through alleys and yeah, we just wanted to keep making art as we graduated, and someone was like, we should be a theater company, we should be a nonprofit, and Hannah came along and was like, yeah, we really shouldn't be spending our own money doing this.
Right.
So we became a nonprofit in 2008, which is the year that the show takes place, so we thought it was really fitting to this is our first show back from the pandemic. We've been doing staged readings, but this is the first like main stage show, and it also has a lot of sex in it. Gay sex.
Yeah.
It has 3 sex scenes.
What?
It starts with a sex scene.
What?
Okay. What performance will I be coming
I
to?
know, right? All of them.
All of them.
Yeah, you got to come see the understudies and the main cast,
I know, right?
because they all are like so special in different ways. Like, so it has everything that we love as a company. It has queerness. It has like talking about important political topics, and it's also around the time where people didn't really have the words to describe trans and non-binary and pronouns, and so they're talking about it before it was talked about, and that is really interesting to see on stage.
Yeah.
And plus musicals.
And a musical.
And a musical to bat.
And a musical. So Kevin, this is kind of your steering this crazy ship. How did this? What was the German the idea? How was this idea? How was Sofa King Queer born?
Well, I started thinking a lot about this in 2018 when I started writing the play. And we were in the middle of, that whole sequence of coming out of the 2016 elections. And we had just done Transformation, which was a show all about trans and non-binary identities. So I was thinking about where did that conversation fit in just 10 years ago, right? Or earlier on in the 2000s, because we're in kind of a historical moment where all of these laws are changing, right? There was a strike down of, being transgender and in the military during that period. There were anti-LGBTQ laws cropping up again, right? Even though we had just gained marriage equality to a certain degree, right? So there were a lot of things in the air that were trending towards pushing LGBT people away from rights again, away from being able to express ourselves more fully in the public sphere. And so I was like, well, how do we do that? And what was happening before, right? How can we even learn from our recent history? Because I didn't want to focus just on, this one big historical moment. Like, okay, we look at Stonewall, right? That's an event that can be dramatized, right? That's great. If we look at other points in history where we're kind of thinking about one dramatic moment that happens, I was more interested in thinking, well, what leads a person to become politically active? What leads someone to, or motivates them to speak out about their identity and bring in the personal and political together? So that was really important to me to document. And originally it was just going to be a play with music. So there's a band that's kind of a centerpiece of the show. They're a pop punk band that's really coming up on the rise. And our main character is, that's one of his lovers. So it's a really interesting thing to be a person who's becoming famous and having to maybe go back into the closet during this time. And so it was a really interesting and juicy kind of conflict to revolve around, while you have other people in your life who are very outwardly queer, right, who are really pushing you to also be out with them too. So there's a lot of pressures for the main character through that.
So does the musical focus primarily on the band and their ascent, or?
No, it did originally.
Okay.
And I kind of threw it out the window because I was thinking of how difficult and how hard it is to have those conversations, right? When you're a person who is marginalized, you don't have a lot of opportunity to speak out except to other people, right, who share that identity with you. So I was thinking a lot about that's what a musical does, right? It lets you express unexpressed feelings.
Yeah.
So instead of just making it about this band who is taking on a lot of patriarchal traits, right? Like the music scene is very white, straight male. How do we react against that? So there is music created for the band that plays in the show, and then each of the characters get to sing and express themselves and really have a lot more meaningful conversation about what their identities. The songs are really based in identity and coming across, as we mentioned, right? There's queer sexual themes. The songs are about those. There's themes about identity of non-binary and trans identities. And there are themes of kind of political orientation, right? Like, how do I get out there and motivated? What motivates me to be politically active in the show?
So you had to go back in time, put the Wayback Machine on a little bit. Did you have any epiphanies, that something that surprised you when you really went back and looked thoroughly into what was happening in 2008 and now?
Yeah. It's so interesting because I was around the age of the characters in the show, right? Mid-20s in 2008. So I was thinking about, I was definitely out there being more politically active. I would march, I would walk in the street, and now it feels more like I am sitting back and trying to give more, I guess, clarity or detail on the situation, right? Kind of capturing history. So that was a surprise to me, of feeling, I think a lot of people who have said this who were, of that age in 2008, like what's surprising is feeling like that is a historical moment, right? That we don't feel,
tell me about
16 years older.
Yeah.
So that's been an interesting part of it. I think also what's been interesting, because I was collapsing those two periods, right? Pre-Obama election 2008 versus the election cycle now, right? I started writing this in 2018, and for whatever reason, it came out in 2024. Right. I wouldn't expect to have a similar feeling of importance. But I think what's been interesting to me is the criticality, especially like on the Democratic Party, right? That there's a lot more feet to the fire in this moment that didn't seem to get as widely expressed, or maybe that was just my naivete being 20 years old, of like, what is this party doing? Are they really for us, right? And kind of the messaging of hope at that time,
right,
that is not quite there in the same way in this election cycle. So it's really curious to me how our political realities shift, and again, what that means for us on a personal level.
All right, come on, deepness.
And the show actually takes place within a 24-hour period on top of a punk rock venue in an apartment. So you, and the show is in a very intimate space. So you gonna see the actors be sweating while they do sexing, and it's all it's all choreographed. It's all professional.
It's all professional. There we are.
We have a fight. An intimacy director and an intimacy consultant.
Oh wow! Okay, great.
So we were very that was a big key thing that we wanted to make sure the actors felt safe and were comfortable with all of the intimacy, and it's really great.
Had you had experience in that level of theater before yourself?
I mean, when we did Transformation, that was a practically nude show.
Okay.
So, but they weren't simulating sex on stage.
Right.
So no, this is definitely a step. Every time we do a show, we just get,
you gotta reach.
Come on, raise the stakes.
Exactly.
Come on.
Exactly.
There we are.
And get more people paid, right? Get more artists paid across the spectrum of the theater arts.
But yeah, when there's something also so great, I love the Chicago theater community. It's just an incredible place. And I love the fact that, people are employing, intimacy directors and coordinators, and they're being very respectful of the artists, which wasn't necessarily true.
Exactly.
It's been a lot of awakenings.
Back in the 90s.
Yeah, I mean, it still is an issue at certain places. You got to be really careful with who you work with, and don't say you're going to do a show without reading the script and
really read read in between the margins, please.
But especially when it says they appear nude.
No,
that's not for me. There we are. If you were just joining us, we are speaking with playwright, composer, and lyricist Kevin Sparrow and producing director of Nothing Without a Company, Anna Rose Ii-Epstein, about their new show, Sofa King Queer. You can say it real fast at home. I can't do that on the radio just because of the FCC. So as you are looking back to 2008, just as a company of actors and as a theater company, what have you discovered in terms of LGBTQ progress and like issues important to our community?
Yeah. So originally when we started, I was very much like, we need to do gay stories. And then Ike Holter, who's also a founding member, he was very much like, no, we need to do stories that have gay people in it. And I don't think I really got that until a few years later. And now I'm really like, oh, that makes sense, because sure, we're a gay theater because we always have something queer involved, but like we're uplifting stories. That's the thing. Yeah. And I go to a lot of shows, and I don't really see a queer person. Or I mean, there's a lot of actors that are queer, but the story is not queer. Yeah, and I'm not really resonating with that anymore. And I think that there needs to be like, yeah, I think I trailed off on your question, but
it's okay. No.
It's like, there's only a few gay theaters, About Face, us, like a few other people, and I think that back in 2008, and I think that that's changed a lot. I think that larger companies are representing
100%.
Definitely. I mean, there's non-binary characters in almost every, whether it's a Goodman or a Steppenwolf. Yeah. I mean, I'm seeing more and more of it. So
yeah.
You're welcome. Things have changed. Yes, thank you. Yes, you made a difference.
I was thinking about that as a writer, right? That also is a task for playwrights, I think, to do. And that wasn't really the consideration back maybe in the 2000s, right? That you could write open-ended things, that you could cast open-endedly. I think that's a lot of where it comes from, is you need to write for the type of representation you want to see on the stage. So this show in particular, I had to write very specific characters. They have very specific identities, right? And so that kind of communicating that in the script so that it gets cast appropriately is important. But there's other shows that I would write where I try to make it really open-ended and not be very gendered, right, with the characters. And I think that's a thing that's changing in playwriting is it really important that you gender your characters or give them a sexual orientation so specifically? Can you make it open-ended so that it can be cast more queerly, or it can be cast more openly to whatever representation you want to find? So I think that's also something I have seen change over time. It used to be very rigid.
I think a lot of new playwrights are thinking of it the same way you are.
Yeah, and there's been a lot of call-outs in the theater community the last few years.
Oh, yeah.
So I think, if you want to survive and not get called out, you
got to go that way.
Yeah,
for sure.
And yeah. So in addition to, but just the the increase of casting and visibility and queer stories, or stories that have queer people in it, however we frame that. Are there anything, as you have been discovering with your work on Sofa, King, Queer, a new musical, that you're finding like, oh, these issues are still like, they're like rubbing up against what we're doing today? Like, is there anything in particular that you're like, oh, like this was very important in 2008. Is it still important now? Or is there anything that, and not to give anything away either, because it sounds like it's peppered throughout the entire play, but have you, like, am I making any sense?
Yes.
I'm sorry.
It makes sense to me. I know we're just having deep thinking.
I know deep thinking. I know
I'm
you're
thinking
like,
too. Like,
it's hard because
because it was a different time. Like the thing
like
that
gay marriage is up again because we've got an administration that could, Project 2025 could throw it all away. So that's still vital.
Yeah, but that wasn't. That was like 2008 is a very specific time. Right. I'm saying, especially like pre-election, because if you say 2008, I immediately go to January of 2009 and Aretha Franklin and that hat. Oh, that is like where I am.
Yes.
But I'm also thinking about like I was in my second year of teaching. My first year was horrible because I had people pulled from my class because I was a gay man, and I was put on the don't ask, don't tell policy by the administration. And just these sorts of things like kind of pop into my head.
Right.
Is there anything that you were, as you were going back to revisit 2008, you're like, oh, we have made progress?
Yes. I mean, there is, to a degree, I suppose. It's challenging. So there is a thread of kind of Prop 8 and what that was going on at the time.
Yeah.
and the kind of Defense of Marriage Act and how that bled into the politics of kind of California. And there's a song that comes out of that whole piece of it.
And I'm sure it's sexy too.
Actually, yes.
Super duper.
Actually, yes. But there is, I think, a difference where it feels that maybe there's more security now to a certain degree. I mean, as you said, with Project 2025, right, it isn't. There's no guaranteed rights, right? Those things could be taken back. So I think there was just that energy and like the specific things that the iconography, I guess, of the time. I'm just like thinking of people painting like no hate, H8 on their faces, that whole kind of photo project. It's very different now because maybe there's just an expectation that people will be supportive, right? Like, oh yeah, most people are pro queer now, and like I don't know that that's true. I think in certain enclaves it is, but living in the city, right? It's a very different experience, right? There is that bubble. It's a very Chicago show, so I think it's good in that way of representing. Yes, people are going to be a bit more progressive or forward, but also that bubble can protect you from examining some of your internalized biases, and the show kind of examines that too. So, and I think even more so maybe for folks in like kind of this age group, maybe a little bit older, who are like adults at the time, thinking of like you're kind of having a coming of age all the time, and maybe there's some things you need to revisit about those biases.
That's a good thing.
Yeah.
And the show takes place in Wicker Park, and they talk about how they're postering for a new queer night, which there was only one other queer night happening, and so they want to be the next queer night, but their posters have been torn down, and they had to what's the lines? Do you remember? Like they have to call for support from.
Oh, they're gonna write. They have a letter to the editor, to the Chicago Reader, about like we're experiencing all this homophobia, so kind of really pushing people to.
Which is still kind of happening here, but not as much. And Wicker Park has definitely changed a lot.
Oh, 1,000,000% with that. Yeah. So when folks get their tickets to go see Sofa King Queer, a new musical brought to you by Nothing Without a Company, what do you hope people leave? What was they would take away?
I mean, definitely like a lot of queer shows are sad and you know about AIDS and that's not our show. We are a very joyful show. I mean, there are really hard conversations, but the conversations are actually had. They're not just touched on and then twiddle out. Like we're actually the characters are having the hard conversations that they should have had a while ago, and they're resolving things, and there's joy, and so really in the especially the political time where everyone is really stressed out. Everyone on both sides. Everyone is just very stressed and like getting very angry, and I'm all about like keeping my peace, and this show has been really helpful for that.
Oh, good.
So I think you should come get some peace from this show.
And some joy and queer joy. That is always such a wonderful thing to see. Because it's like as a member of a marginalized community, whatever, there's always like, oh, and poor, but it's like we're also very happy people too.
Yes.
So I cannot wait. It's so great. So make sure that you check out Sofa King Queer, a new musical presented by Nothing Without a Company at the Berger Park Coach House, running through December 2nd.
Yeah, can we say one more thing?
Oh, please, yeah.
We're actually dropping an album.
What?
Fantastic.
Yeah, so it's going to be coming out at midnight on Halloween.
Okay.
It's some candy for the queers.
Yeah.
All right.
Because tricks or treats.
Heck yeah.
And can we find it on Spotify and everywhere?
Yes,
Okay,
it'll
good.
be on all the platforms.
All right, fantastic.
And how is it? Is it dropping with Nothing Without a Company? Is there a
what's
band
the
name?
name?
Or is it Sofa King Queer?
Sofa King Queer.
Okay,
Sofa
there.
Queen Queer.
King.
Queer King. Sofa
There.
King Queer.
There we are.
The
Okay.
queens are
careful.
allowed.
Sofa
Careful. The queens are there too.
Queer.
All right. Careful. FCC. All right. There we go. Again, Sofa King Queer, presented by Nothing Without a Company at the Berger Park Coach House, which I love that space. It really is like a wonderful, intimate venue, and just go talk about like an immersive experience. You're gonna have an immersive experience.
Right by the lake.
Right by the lake. It's fabulous.
Sounds great.
It's lovely. I did a show there years ago.
And plenty of time to check it out. We got until December 2nd.
And for more information and just to find out what the company's up to, you can go to nothingwithoutaccompany.org. Yes. Anna Rose, Ii-Epstein, and Kevin Sparrow, thank you so much. And Hannah, thank you over there. Documenting. There we are. We have got to take a quick break, and when we come back, it is the final thrilling show-stopping moments about Chicago right here on WCPT Heartland Signal.
I'm Honey West. Welcome to Out Chicago on WCPT.
Welcome back to Out Chicago. Scott Duff here and Ella Miller rolling along.
Rolling.
With sexy times.
Oh.
Queer punk music.
Gotta check it out.
I know, right?
I'm going to get a date between now and December 2nd.
There you go. I think you can do that.
I think I can find a time.
Yeah,
I know there is.
Hey, you know what?
What?
Out Chicago has its very own podcast now. What?
I love it.
Actually, there are two of them.
Yes.
There's Out Chicago full episodes and Out Chicago featured interviews. All you have to do is just search for Out Chicago wherever you get your podcasts, or you can get the podcast links on our show page by visiting heartlandsignal.com.
Yes.
More slash. Dot. Chicago.
Okay.
There's just a dot out.
But you can go on, if you go on Spotify in your pocket, you just put in Out Chicago.
Out Chicago.
And you'll be there.
And also on the show page, you'll find our recent interviews with Randy Rainbow.
So if you heard about the Randy Rainbow interview or you want to hear it again, you can just go right to the Randy Rainbow interview and any other ones that you want to hear.
And the other ones over there. So so go and check it out. And again, go to heartlandsignal.com/out-Chicago. And then you can find us there.
Yes, indeed.
There we are. Now, not only were you in L.A. In the weekend, you came home and you were able to go to the opening night
went
of
to Some Like It Hot.
Yeah, listen, my friend went to go see it as well, and she lost her ever-loving mind over it. Yes, she was like, I've never seen something just so joyful. She loves the tap show. She's like, they are hoofing up there like nobody's business. It is fun. And,
it is
and amazing.
It is all those things. It is a fun night at the theater. Absolutely. The dancing is phenomenal. The songs are good. I'm a big fan of the movie. I'm a huge fan of the movie. And, if those that don't remember, if you didn't see it, it's about two straight men who find themselves running from gangsters because they witnessed a murder and they decided to disguise themselves as women, and all kinds of insanity ensues. In the movie, the Jack Lemmon character has an admirer named Osgood. He's like Osgood the Third. And, he was played by, I think it was Joey Brown is the guy.
I can't remember his name.
Played him in the and that's the name. But if not, Edward Houvier plays. He's a member of our fine, proud member of LGBTQI plus community. He plays the role of Osgood, and he is delicious in the role. He's perfect. He's wonderful.
It's so funny.
And he's so funny. And they've changed it a little bit. In the movie, Jack Lemmon is just doing this because he's trying to save his life. But in the play, it turns out that the character that he plays ends up finding that...
Spoilers.
Well,
spoilers.
Let's just say there's a lot of happiness that comes about. And,
I love that.
And my dad's favorite line at the end of the movie, and they incorporated in this, when Jack Lemmon in the movie reveals himself, takes off his wig, he goes, I'm a woman. He goes,
I'm a man.
I'm a man. I'm a man. And he goes... Osgood looks at him and goes, nobody's perfect. And that's how it ends. And it's a delight. It's a lot of fun. So recommend go see if you're looking for a night of fun and dancing and music and getting your minds off of all of the insanity going on in the world. It's always good to escape to
it'll be
Broadway
with our
Chicago.
good friends Broadway in Chicago. It's here, I believe, until November 3rd.
Yes, so we just have a week to see it, basically.
Yeah, but go check it out.
And then tonight, here's a weird kind of juxtaposition. I saw, as you know, Joni Mitchell last week. She did a beautiful rendition of Both Sides Now, a lot lower octave, but meaningful and beautiful. Tonight, I am going to see Judy Collins at the Athenaeum Theater.
What?
It's right by our house, who actually put the song Both Sides Now on the map. She actually covered a couple of Joni songs, and covered that one on her records. I think Sunflowers is the name of it. And,
oh, wow. That's deep.
And she is...
wow, you pulled that one out. That was amazing.
And she is going to, she's doing that whole album tonight, so she will be doing Both Sides Now. So I will see 1 week apart Joni Mitchell, who sang the song and wrote it, and a week later, Judy Collins, who made the song popular. It's kind of...
Come on. And she's Canadian too, right?
I believe she is, yes.
I think Judy Collins is a Canadian.
I think she is. But she's great. She's 85. And, you got to see these people while you can.
I know, right? And Judy Collins.
Judy Collins is
Didn't she have like a little harpsichord or an auto harp? Who am I thinking of that was like from that time? Maybe I'm thinking like Joan Baez. She didn't have an auto harp.
Yeah, Joan Baez, I think, might
had
have.
an auto harp.
I think she might have, yeah.
Because those gals kind of come to one sort of...
I know.
Triumphant
I'm sorry.
Beautiful.
The record is Wildflowers.
Wildflowers.
I want to be accurate at all. I knew after I said that. So Wildflowers. And she's doing that whole show. That Michael from Mountains, which is an early Joni Mitchell song as well. Mm-hmm. That's part of this record that she did. So she covered 2 Joni Mitchell songs on one of her first and most iconic albums. So, yeah, it's at the Athenaeum. I don't know if tickets are left, but you got to see these great gra while they're still able to tour.
100%.
Yeah,
totally.
How do you Halloween? We're going to be Halloweening on Thursday. Answering the door is what we do for Halloween anymore. We used to go out and raise hell, but now we just... Hi kids, you look so cute. Have a candy bar.
Yeah, no, yeah. We live in a weird courtyard, so we don't get trick or treaters at all, which is fine because spending a lot of money on candy is crazy. But no, yesterday we walked down in Andersonville. There was a huge. It was the Andersonville Business Association, the Chamber of Commerce. They were doing their trick or treating for all the kids. So it was great to kind of be out there with everybody. There was one group that just they did Jurassic Park. They took a wagon, like a little radio flyer wagon, and they tricked it out to look like one of those like little dune buggies from Jurassic Park.
Oh, cool.
They put ferns inside it, and they had in the little wagon was a little baby dinosaur, but you had Samuel L. Jackson from that with from the movie. He had his little headset on and everything. He had a dinosaur strapped to him. There was Lord Dern. There was Sam Neill. It was it was amazing. It was like kudos to you.
It's amazing what people do. I mean, it's just always like the creativity is just fantastic.
I love it. I know when I'm getting freaked out because it's like the gay holiday.
Yeah,
and I don't know what I'm going to be for Halloween.
Oh, at work you dress up, right?
Yeah, I don't know.
You were from Adam's Family last year, right?
I can't remember what I did. We had to dress up 3 days last year.
Oh my God, that's a lot of pressure.
It's a lot of
pressure. And then why you'd be different characters each day?
No, but I mean, you gotta wash things too. You don't want to be stinky.
God,
but
no, please.
But what our big thing this week is going to be, we're getting our ofrenda together for Dia de los Muertos, which is has become a very, very meaningful time for both Jerry and I. We are hoping to extend it out to our courtyard and do an outdoor ofrenda. So basically, Dia de los Muertos is the day after
Day of the Dead.
Day of the Dead, and it's all about remembering and celebrating people who have passed on.
It's a beautiful tradition. And I think in 2019, right after my mom died, we went to Mexico for a little break, and just being there for Dia de los Muertos was a beautiful experience. The ofrendas were up in the town square, and the cemeteries were open, and people had put their offerings in the different by the different grave sites, and it was just a beautiful experience. I just really loved it.
It really is, and for both Jerry and I, it's a moment where you stop and you really remember, you think about that person, you hold them in your heart, and you leave out little foods that they like.
People had mole. I'm like, that mole looks good.
It's not for you. It ain't for you.
And their favorite drinks and tequila.
We create an altar every year. We've been doing it for over 20 years now, and you put up photographs. We put up little glasses of scotch for people. There's a can of Vienna Franks that I swear to God has lived in our pantry for 87 years.
It's
that
only
always
purpose.
comes out.
Drag it out
I
for
know.
the
We got to get a
breakfast.
new thing of Vienna Franks, but it really is something that's just kind of a time where you can actually stop and think about the people in your
It's a beautiful
that you've missed.
tradition.
So
I
it's
love that you
wonderful,
guys do that.
and it brings us some joy and at a time that's kind of icky. But anyway, we got to go.
Yeah.
Hey, I want to thank all of our guests today. Kate Doyle, Rodrigo Heng-Lehtinen, Anna Rose why can I not talk today? Anna Rose Ii-Epstein and Kevin Sparrow. Devin, thank you so much for running everything so smoothly. Henry, thank you for making things work on the technology machines. Ellen Miller, always wonderful to see you. Welcome back.
To be with you,
Missed
Scott,
you.
as always.
Make sure you get out there and vote, everybody. And I'm Scott Duff. And until next week,
Stay proud.
The Family Meeting.
This is Dr. Sharon Bethea. She's at Northeastern Illinois. It's to teach us about the history of Haiti and think about this in the context of colonization that has caused things like what we see going on at our southern border.
When we talk about colonization, they choose to destroy and kill and massacre the people. So that began to happen. Indigenous